Hi all, I welcome you to this session on Tableau Projects, and in this module we are going to see how you can leverage the power of AI to explain data points with a single click on Tableau. Tableau functionalities are based on advanced statistical models which explain data and help you uncover insights you may not have found otherwise. But before we begin, let's look at our agenda for today. So we are going to start out by introducing you to Tableau, and then we are going to see how we can install Tableau desktop on our computer systems. Next, we have a case study on Boston real estate. And here we shall look into a dataset mentioning various factors and outcomes involved in real estate prices in Boston, US, and understand the correlation between parameters and the rates of the plots. So with that, I come to the end of my agenda. So without much ado, let's get started. So first of all, we are going to start by looking at what is Tableau, what exactly is its significance. So let's go right ahead. So Tableau is basically a suite of services which aid in business intelligence of a company. With Tableau, you can harness the power of your data and unleash the potential of numbers. You can choose the analytics platform for your individual analyst, for teams and organization, for embedded analytics, natural language interrogation of your data, and see how your organization can create an impact using that data on the market. From connection to collaboration, Tableau is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful, secure, and flexible end-to-end analytics platform for your data. It is designed for individuals as well as scaled for the enterprise. And it is not only a business intelligence tool, but it also turns your data into insights that drive action for your company. Now, Tableau has a couple of different functionalities. As I mentioned, it is a complete end-to-end solution for business intelligence. It has a Tableau Prep, which is built of two products, Prep Builder and Prep Conductor. Now, this is a personal data preparation tool that empowers the user with the ability to cleanse, aggregate, merge, or otherwise prepare their data for analysis in Tableau. Then you have Tableau Desktop, which can basically extract massive data offline or from the web and bring it into the memory of your system for limitless exploration in seconds. It is a data visualization tool that helps you get actionable insights out of your data really quickly. And then you can share your insights using the Tableau server or Tableau Online, which is essentially an online hosting platform to hold all your data, workbooks, data sources, and more. Now, moving on, let's discuss a couple prerequisites so that you can follow through with this session. You have to make sure that a version of Tableau Desktop is downloaded and installed in your PC or laptop or your system, whatever you're using right now. So for me, especially, I am using the Tableau Desktop public version, which is the free version of Tableau Desktop. It basically has all the functionalities you have for Tableau Desktop, the paid version, but it comes for free and you can easily create stunning interactive visualization on this platform without any coding. You can explore and interact with the most extensive library of data visualizations in the world with over 1 million user-generated possibilities as well. Now, to download and install the Tableau Desktop Public, you have to first log on to the Tableau Public official website. So first of all, on your web browser, you will have to log in to public.tableau.com and you will be met with a web page like so. All you need to do is enter your email address, use your work email address, and then click on download the app button, which is this big orange button right here. Now this will start downloading the exe file for Windows by default because I'm using a Windows PC, and you can see the downloading process in the bottom left corner of your website, which is right here. Now this is going to take some time, so kindly be patient. Now once it's done, you can open the downloaded file. Okay. And you'll be met with a setup prompt like so. Here you can check the box which says I have read and accept the terms of the license agreement. And then you can begin the installation by clicking on install. That will start the installation process. And once the installation is over, it will automatically display the start screen of Tableau. Now, the start page of Tableau Public looks something like this. It is conveniently named as Book 1, which basically means it's Workbook 1. And you can connect to a bunch of different data sets by choosing one of the options on this panel on the left. And you have a bunch of different tutorial videos, how-to videos, and visualizations of the day in the panel on your right. So now that we have our Tableau Public downloaded, let's go ahead and look at our case studies. Now for our case study, I have a data set of the Boston real estate. Now, this was a data set which was taken maybe in the 1960s to see how different factors, different parameters are involved in the real estate prices in Boston and understand the correlation between various parameters with each other. Through this exercise, we will try to find out how crime affects the price of real estate, how is the age of the building or the proportion of owner occupied and establishing building affect the price of the estate, how are number of rooms related with the price of the flat you take, and how these rates vary in time. Basically, we are going to create a couple of KPIs which are going to help us make a decision regarding purchasing a plot in said real estate. So without much ado, let's move on to our Tableau desktop. Here I have already connected to the data. It is a CSV file. And here you can see all the different variables, all the different columns which have different parameters. We have crime rate, we have the NOx rate, we have age of the buildings, we have tax, we have the pupil teacher ratio, we have the proportion of lower income class people living in a certain area. And finally, we have the median price of said plot. So we are basically going to find out how do people in the industry determine the prices of a certain plot in Boston. Pretty simple. So with that, I'm going to move on to the first sheet. You can see all your variables, all your measures here on the left as usual. So on sheet number 1, I'm not going to create any visualizations. I'm going to start out with clarifying all the variables and what they mean. And I'm going to put it up clearly here in place of its sheet name text. And I'm also going to rename this sheet to variables. So because I know all the names of columns are not very clear, here I've put them up clearly. Okay, let me just quickly put in some. So here I have specified what each of the variables stand for. So the first one is per capita crime ratio. Then ZN is proportion of residential land zoned for lots 25,000 square feet. Then next we have proportion of non-retail business acres per capita. Then we have NOx, which basically weighs the concentration of nitric oxide in parts per million. Then we have average rooms per dwelling. Then we have proportion of preoccupied houses which were occupied before 1940. Then we have distances to Boston employment centers and again distances to radial highways. Then we have the full value property tax per $10,000. Then we have the pupil teacher ratio per capita. Then we have proportion of segregated minorities as well as lower income class in every area. And finally, the median value of homes in a particular estate. So now that we know what all of our columns stand for, let's go ahead and start visualizing. So let's start out by opening a new sheet. So first I'm going to bring in the price or the median value. into rows, and then let's see its relationship with crime. Now, as you can see right now, we can only see one data point. If this is happening with you, all you have to do is go to analysis and uncheck the aggregate measures box. So it gives you an unaggregated view or an unaveraged view on your screen. You get to see all of the data points that exist. So suppose I don't want to know about crime. I will want to see where the median pricing moves if I correlate it with pupil-teacher ratio in every school. And here we can see there's no such rising or falling relationship. Let's try something else. Let's bring taxes. All right, as we can see here, we are getting somewhere. So once we have our average number of rooms per dwelling, we can see that it shares a positive relationship with the median pricing. So now basically I want to give this power to my user. I want all these visualizations to be at his or her disposal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the dimensions pane and click on this drop down arrow and click on create parameter. So I am going to call this measure of interest. And keep the data type as string. Click on list. And I'm just going to add as I go, but currently I am just going to put in some of the main measures. So let's see: age, crime, average number of rooms, tax, nitrous oxide, teacher ratio, and like radial connectivity. That's very important. Then I'm going to go right click on the parameter. Once your parameter is created, you can see it here at the bottom under parameters, and I'm going to right click and click on show parameter control. So then you can check out your measure of interest and how it relates to the pricing of a particular area. But you will notice that this is not working right now. And that is because we have forgotten to establish a connection between said measure of interest with the pricing. So again, we go to dimensions and we click on this arrow and create a calculated field. We'll just call it So we're going to write a case statement, a pretty simple case statement. Basically, what we are trying to tell Tableau is that when we are selecting a certain option, we need it to use that option as your column input. Let's see, what all have we put in our measure of interest? There's age, crime, tax, NOx, PT ratio. Right? And finally, we are going to end it with an end statement and apply it. Here on the left under measures, you can see measure of interest, which is our dynamic measure. And then we are going to click on OK. Then we're going to switch out this column from rooms to measure of interest. Remove this. And then we're going to see if our pricing is in average. So for these kind of analysis, usually your pricing needs to be an average. Everything else also needs to be an average. And that's it. Now let's see how tax affects your pricing, followed by crime affecting your pricing. As you can see, where there is zero crime, the prices are really, really high, which is very obvious. And here is the radial distance to your highway, pupil teacher ratio, which is kind of more evenly distributed along the canvas. And that is how you create a dynamic measure to determine the effect of various parameters on the pricing of a certain plot. Now that answers the first few questions in our case study. Next, we are going to see how do rates fluctuate based on the crime rate in an area. So here I'm going to introduce you to something known as bins, where basically you are going to create bins of say 3 or 4. You're going to club 2, 3 numbers together, create categories basically. So here I'm going to introduce you to something known as bins. Bins are nothing but ranges. Suppose your crime index is on a scale of 10. You can club the first 3 together, then the next 3, like 0 to 3 together, 3 to 6 together, 6 to 9 together. That's how you're supposed to read bins. So here is the green pill, the crime pill. I'm going to right click, go to the create option, and then bins. As you can see, it automatically suggests bin size as 3.3. I am going to keep it as just 3, then OK. And right up in the dimensions, you can see that the crime bin has been created. So I'm going to bring this to the columns and then put in the price for rows, and it automatically brings me this bar graph. But here is one column with null value, so we are just going to exclude it. Yeah, but I'm still not happy with the representation, so instead of this I'm going to change it into a box and whiskers plot. I'm going to make a few changes, bring this right here. But as you can see, this does not open up. So if you face a situation like this, so you can basically go up to the median pill and select dimensions, and that will give you the proper cats and whiskers or the 5-point plot. And it happens so because dimensions, this option that we selected, the dimension option basically brings out all the points, whereas a measure aggregates all the points to one. Yes? Now you see the median price of an area which lies in the crime index 0 to 3 is as high as $23,000. And here are a couple outliers which go even higher, and the highest price somebody is ready to pay is $50,000. And this just gets lower and lower as crime increases, and you can see there's a direct relationship between crime and pricing of a certain plot. And you can do this with all the other measures that there are, but crime rate or crime index is a really important parameter for people to choose a locality in which they want to live. So now let's go ahead and add a few metrics to this workbook. So for the KPI, I am going to drag out the measure names pill here and then maybe the measure values. This immediately gives me a bar chart, which is okay, but I don't think it's an apt way of representing this data. So I am going to convert it into a metric form, a table form. Also, for the sake of creating a dashboard later on, I am going to swap out the rows and the columns, and this gives me a swapped version of the previous metric chart, and I can choose to pick as many or as few of the parameters to display in my dashboard. Also, it doesn't really make any sense that all the measure values are there in our sum form, so I am going to convert them into average. You can see all your metrics change. This makes more sense. I'm not interested in all the measure values, so here I'm going to keep only my top 5 measure values, which I think is relevant if I had to pick a house. So age of occupancy is really important. Rest. This I'm going to remove. Crime distance. The dynamic measure also I'm going to remove. All right. Now, how do you make use of it? What I'm going to do, I'm going to bring out the price into the filter. And hence you can see all the values pricing. Suppose I'm interested in a house between 15 and 25,000. Here I can see my average crime rate is 1.8, average distance to a workplace is 4.1. I have average nitric oxide in the air, pupil teacher ratio, so on and so forth. And that is how you turn these basic metrics into key performance indicators to make decisions on whether you want to buy a plot in a certain area or not. And this can be used to create an application out of it for user benefit. Suppose you're working in real estate or your company has stakes in it, you're an analyst, you have to conduct your market research. This is how you can give all the power to the user and enhance user experience using Tableau. So how to enhance this metric further? What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a calculated field and call it crime indicator. And here I'm going to write a very simple if statement based on the crime bins that I created. So let's see. Crime is less than equal to 3, then it's going to display low. Crime is less than equal to say 8, then moderate. Is equal to else high. All right. So now we have our crime indicator. This makes it easier for your viewer and enhances user interaction with this particular application. It also makes it easier for people to read out rather than looking at lots and lots of numbers on your table. So I'm just going to apply it and click on OK. So for this to show, I'm going to open a new sheet. So I'm going to select this crime indicator and the price. And this table does not do it justice. I'm going to make it a pie chart, and to make these colors more indicative of the crime in a certain area, I'm going to change. For high, I'm going to keep it red. For low, I'm going to keep it green, and for moderate, let's keep it yellow. Let's turn them into a complete traffic signal. I'm going to apply it, and as you can see it in the crime indicator box in the right. Also going to bring the price filter out and show filter. Okay, so now if I set up a range, say 15 to 25, you can hover over it and see the crime indicator for different median values. Moving on, let's see if we can find out an equation between various factors and the price. Going on new sheet. And equation. And here I'm also going to bring in my price, and I'm going to pick crime again. And this will give me a scattered chart. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to analytics and select a trend line under the model. And my scatter chart looks more like logarithmic chart, so I'm going to use that. And you can see when you hover over the logarithmic line, you see an equation for crime, and you also find the R squared value and the p-value. The r-squared value is 0.28 and the p-value is again less than 0.05, which is 5%, which means that you can trust this equation. This is a usable equation. Now, if we switch, let's see, the crime for the NOx value, you can see the equation has changed. The r-squared value has come down to 26. So now basically we are trying to predict the NOx value, but if I go ahead and swap the two, here you can see how the increase in NO2 affects the price of a certain real estate. If I go up here on the line, and here you have the logarithm, and if for a moment I change this into a linear model, you can see a formula for your price of a certain estate, which is minus 33.9161 times NOx plus your 41.34, which is nothing but an intercept, with your r-squared value at 0.18. This basically is how much your NOx value is going to affect your pricing. And then you have your p-value, which, as I had explained before, is the value you get from hypothesis testing. Now, this worksheet is a great way through which you can find out how certain factors affect the pricing of real estate. I have taken Boston, for example. You can pick any data set that you like. You have your equation for predicting price based on the NOx value. Your r-squared value is 0.18, which just means you can barely use this variable as a complete indicator for price. You have your crime indicators, you have your metrics for the 5 most important things people look at while determining the pricing of a certain real estate. You have your crime rate versus building pricing in boxes and whiskers plots. Here you have your dynamic measures affecting the price, and this is your personal help page for all the variables. All in all, this is a pretty useful method to make decisions by creating key performance indicators and dynamic measures. Let me go back and check if I have uncovered the entire case study, and I have. So to conclude, we basically studied a data set which had multiple factors affecting the prices and the outcomes of pricing on multiple parameters in a certain area. And we understood the correlation between parameters and its rates. Remember, Tableau is a very powerful suite of services, and the more you work on it, the more you play with data, the more powerful a tool you will acquire through Tableau. I shall leave you with that thought. Thank you and have a great day.